his way and bewildered by the world we see. Why do people hurt us so? Only those in love would know what a town without pity can do. If we stop to gaze upon a star.
One of my favorite food memories with Dad is the lunches that he would pack for us every day from kindergarten to 12th grade. He would make sure that these lunches were balanced, that they were nutritious, but also had some tasty treats. One time when I was in elementary school, though, he sent me to school that day with a chocolate chip sandwich. This was on sandwich bread, just regular sandwich bread. And then it had a layer of butter on each side. And then he put chocolate chips all over the butter. And then, because chocolate chips were not enough, he sprinkled sugar on top of that. And I have to say that that was one of my favorite lunches.
Hi, Dad. One of my favorite food memories with you is the time that you surprised Molly and I with a trip to a buffet. So I was learning how to drive at the time, and you came home from work and you said, let's get in the car, let's practice some driving, which was, a treat in itself. But then we ended up at a buffet, which normally Molly and I would be thrilled with, but we had actually eaten a huge snack right after school, and so we weren't really hungry. But we also didn't want to disappoint you. So we probably, tried to put on our best faces for being excited, although I'm sure we were, but we knew that we wouldn't probably be able to eat what the price per plate was. And I think you probably found out later from Mom that we had a huge snack, and that's probably why we didn't eat as much as we could have. But it was a really nice memory, and I'm sure we had a good laugh about it, a few days later.
One of my favorite food memories with Dad is, well, it's not the pea soup story, and nobody better share that story because it is not a good memory. But one of my real favorite food memories with Dad is one time I was sick from school, and I stayed home, and he had to stay home and watch me. And I had been waking up from a nap, and I could smell bacon cooking. And after I woke up, he brought me a BLT sandwich. I think there was no tomato, though, because I didn't really eat them then. But along with that, he brought me, on the side was a bunch of purple grapes. And he had put some Cool Whip on the side with that and gave me a little toothpick to eat the grapes and dip them in the Cool Whip. It's just one of my favorite memories because I felt so fancy, and it felt like, I don't know what sick kid gets that kind of lunch, but I did. And it was delicious, and I definitely don't eat enough grapes with Cool Whip, but I'm going to start up again. And the toothpick was an excellent touch, so thank you for that.
One of my favorite vacation memories with Dad is when we went to Sault Ste. Marie, and I think you know where this is going. We were staying at that motel, and I think we had just come back from dinner. We had our slices of cake because, we got too full at dinner, and we were hanging out, and the power went out, and there was nothing we could do. And so we just ended up sitting in the hallway in the dark, by the emergency lights, eating our slices of cake. And that place was a real dump. I think there was a mini golf that was supposed to be open, and it wasn't. It was just the worst. But that was just so fun. As a kid, you just sitting in a hallway eating cake. You really don't need more than that when you're little.
Hi, Dad. So my favorite vacation moments with you are when you can't find the car keys to the rental car, or don't recognize them as the car keys, or you've lost your luggage but it's really an unclaimed baggage, or you can't find the street that we're looking for, Ponce de Leon. Just kidding. Those are not my favorite memories. I just needed to ask you about it for a minute. My actual favorite memory was when we were in San Diego and we were going to Christmas Eve dinner, and we were seated outside, and it was about 80 degrees, and the server sat us right in the sun, and immediately we all stopped talking, which is a rarity in this family, and we all sort of melted, and we couldn't even think about eating food at all. And then I think at one point you asked our server if we could just be moved to the shade, and finally we perked up and we were our normal selves again. I'm pretty sure that was you that did that. Sorry if it was somebody else, but I'm pretty sure, in my memory anyway, I recall that it was Dad that did that. I feel like that's a Dad thing. So thanks, Dad, for, I guess, saving Christmas in San Diego.
One of my favorite vacation memories with Dad is when we thought it'd be a great idea one year when we went to Alabama to go play tennis in 100-degree weather. I'm not sure if it was 100-degree weather, but it felt like it. It was pretty stupid on our part, but I think Dad thought it'd be fun. It'd be a new experience. It definitely was new. I don't know about the fun part, but I look back at it and I laugh a lot, even though it's probably a miracle neither of us died from heat stroke. But I'm glad I got to share that really, really dumb decision with someone else. So thank you for that.
One of my favorite gifts from Dad is the bunny and bear houses that he made for us. I loved these. These are like my favorite toys as a kid, and I know Chell and Mo would agree. We had so much fun playing with our little bunnies and our bears and other little animals. There was the cave and the little bunny warren. There was a school, and we also had an ice cream shop. You helped us make houses too, and I remember Mo's house had like a really fancy elevator, and me and Chell were like so jealous of it. I got to, do like decorations for the ice cream shop, and kind of like, you let me sort of like do a lot of work on that. So that was really cool, just getting to kind of like partner with you on creating it. And, I think it like just really inspired all of us to, be creative and to make things. Cause I mean, these were just like cardboard boxes and, with some paint and, it wasn't very fancy, but they were so cool, and just like, knowing that you can make something out of very little was very inspiring.
So when Molly and I were sick at the same time, our dad used to bring us home toys from FAO Schwartz, and they were just small toys, but his office was around the block from them at the time. And so in the morning when he'd be getting ready for work and leaving, we were probably, asking him, bring home a surprise, bring us home a treat, something to that extent. And so he would come home and he'd have his hands behind his back and he'd have two toys, and we'd get to pick, which hand for the surprise toy. And it was just a treat because, we were homesick and we knew he would kind of bring us home something, even though I think in the mornings he would tell us no, but he'd always end up with a toy for us. And it was, just a really nice memory. And that's, my favorite childhood toy from him.
One of my favorite gifts ever from Dad was the hurdling video he put together for me for my senior year of high school graduation. I love having that footage of the time when we were training and of my races, even though some of them I was a little slow, so you could have left those out. But it is nice to have, and I love looking back on it, especially since you forced everyone to get up really early and send messages to me on it without getting to do their hair or makeup. So everyone's in sunglasses like they're rock stars or something. But it's very cool, and I really appreciate all the work you put into it.
One of the many things that I've learned from Dad, which includes don't buy warranties. But another thing that I learned from Dad is when you go on vacation, how to really vacation in style. And I used to get kind of stressed out on family vacations because we would make plans and we would never get to all of them, and I would feel let down by that. But then Dad kind of gave his philosophy on vacations, which Dad has a lot of philosophies, but this is a particularly good one, which is you pick one thing you want to do that day, and then you just make sure to have good food and good drinks, and then you are guaranteed to have a good time. And given all of the family vacations we've been on, I can say that this philosophy stands true.
Hi, Dad. So one lesson that you taught me that I carry to this day is when you have confidential information such as banking information or health records that you no longer need to retain. So what do you do with it? You first rip it into about 30 to 40 pieces where no one can even start to piece that information together if they did find it. And then second, you go around and you disperse it into different garbage cans so that even if they were able to put that information back together, they couldn't have all of that information. So no joke, I do this to this day. You can ask Chris. That is one life lesson that you taught me as a child and that I continue to do. Got to keep those records safe. Thanks, Dad.
Something that Dad taught me was clearly how to do my hair. I'm just kidding, that he never taught me that at all. But something he did teach me and continues to teach me is how important family is. One time when we went to Geneva for Christmas, it was one of the years when I was feeling sick because I had come back and had to be in the cold and the snow, and my body no longer handles that. And I was trying to be a trooper and kind of power through and go and do stuff that we wanted to do. And we got back to the hotel and saw from something, and we saw a sign that there was going to be a magician or a comedian at the hotel. And Dad thought it was a cool idea to go, and we were all excited. But when we got back to the room, I just knew I was too tired and not feeling well enough to go. So I remember telling him that you guys could go and I would just stay back. And right away he was like, nope, none of us are going now. And I don't think he asked anyone, but he just decided because I wasn't up for it that none of us were going to go. So I'm sorry if anyone really wanted to go. But it just showed that, you know, he didn't want to do something if we couldn't all do it, no matter how weird it was probably going to be. I bet we really missed out. And he's always been like that. He doesn't really care what we're doing as long as we're together. And that's something that I try to remind myself when I'm getting a little fussy with anyone. That it's nice to have that time together, and we all like each other enough and like each other hanging out together. We're not just, you know, being stuck being family. You know, we actually want to hang out. So I appreciate that he continues to show us that and lead by example. He also taught me how to solve fights with other people, and it's just kick each other in the butt and then it's all okay. So thank you for that tip.
One time in particular that Dad helped me that stands out in my memory is my freshman year of college. I really struggled. I missed my family terribly, and I had a hard time making friends and getting used to just having a lot more freedom than I'd ever had. And so one night I ended up injuring my toe, and I had to hobble around on campus with one of those boots. And I remember Dad came to visit me. Dad came. He came for it was like the middle of the week, I think. He took off from work, and he came down to just kind of like help me around campus, help me get to my classes, took me grocery shopping, and just really was there to, you know, help lift my spirits. at that time, I was also having a lot of challenges with my coursework because I was studying engineering and I was taking chemistry and it was so boring and I just never wanted to study, and so I was falling behind in that. And so he helped me, make the difficult decision of dropping that class and not feeling like a failure, not feeling bad about that. And I'll always be grateful to him for that.
Dad, one time that you really helped me out was when I was in college and I was taking an entomology class, which is the study of bugs, and I had to collect several different species for an end of year project. So you, Mom, and we drove down Harlem to a forest preserve in Stickney, and we started to look for bugs for me to collect that I didn't have. However, I think immediately a park ranger came up to us and said that this was a no sample area, so we couldn't take any samples of bugs or leaves or flowers, and so we had to leave. So I don't remember if we drove to another forest preserve or a hiking trail to do the project, but I thought it was pretty cool that you helped out. That's pretty awesome, and that you just didn't make me do the project all on my own. So thanks, Dad, for collecting those icky bugs with me.
One time when Dad really helped me was in high school. I think it was my junior or senior year. And I had come home from track practice one day and had a bunch of stuff to do. I had a test the next day. I had a ton of homework. I had an art assignment. And I got really overwhelmed and I broke down crying one night after dinner, full on sobbing, just whining about everything I had to do. And so Dad asked what my art assignment was. And I had to do a drawing. We always had these weekly assignments where it'd just be a theme of food, and you had to draw food. And that week was glass. So Dad just took my art book and he started drawing the living room window with the curtains and I think some plants around it or something. He didn't even really talk to me about it. He just said he was going to do my art homework. And so he did it that night. I can clearly remember seeing him sitting on the couch with his leg over his other knee crossed and just had the notebook in there in his hands and was just doodling the window like it was nothing, a totally normal day for him. And I ended up getting everything done, and I think I did pretty well on the assignment, too.
How can we keep love alive? How can anything survive?